Regular planning, welcome to the Planning Commissions for October 13, 2020. It's called to order at 7:05. We're going to have a moment of silence, then we're going to do a pledge of allegiance. And then we have two scheduled public hearings. The first one is Tony Blakely and Intimate Health, and the second one is 1615 Cambridge Court. So I guess we can do we don't okay. Sorry. And Glenn Kennedy is going to help us start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, with your hands over your heart. Again, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Vice Chair Holt, absent. Commissioner Jaquez, absent. Commissioner Kennedy?
Here.
Commissioner Redholz?
Here.
And Chair Hing.
Here.
You have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you. For approval of minute, does anyone have any questions or changes to the minutes of September 22nd, 2020? Seeing none, the minutes of September 22nd, 2020 are approved as submitted. Then we have oral communication.
4 words.
Okay.
What is not currently in service? Nope.
This is the time when any member of the public may speak to the commission on any matter within the scope of duties assigned to the commission relating to non-agendized or consent calendar items. Other items, including on this agenda, may be addressed when that item is under considerations. For all oral communications, the chairpersons may impose reasonable limitations of public comments to assure an orderly and timely manner. The Ralph-Brown Act limits the Planning Commission and staff's ability to respond to public comment at this meeting. Thus, your comment may be agendized for a future meeting or referred to staff. The Commission may ask questions or clarification if you desire at this time. By policy of the Commission, oral communication at this time on the agenda is limited to a total of 15 minutes. Persons who are not afforded the opportunity to speak at this time may do so. Continuation of oral communication is later on the agenda. We don't have any cards, so if no one comes forward to the public communication, I guess we can.
There are no public speaker cards, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So we can open this to public hearing. And this is on the northeast for the parking lot, which is on the northeast corner of 1115 South Sunset Avenue, former Sunset Field Park site. And who will present this item?
Good evening, Chair.
Thank you.
I will be presenting this item. I'll go ahead and start off with the presentation. Good evening, Honorable Chair and members of the Planning Commission, and also members of the public. The project site is a 146,490 square foot parcel located on the northeast corner of the Queen of the Valley Hospital campus, south of the Walnut Creek Wash. This was the former Sunset Field Park. And here is a photograph of the current site. I'll go ahead and continue on with a bit of history regarding the site. The original specific plan was approved or adopted on April 15th, 1987. This allowed for the development of the Queen of the Valley Martin Family Birth and Newborn Center, which was constructed in 2000. On November 8th, 2016, the city held a special municipal election where 68.5% of the voters voted to sell Sunset Field, with the proceeds going to the city park fund. The city, on February 19, 2019, the city then approved the zone change to change the zoning of Sunset Field from multifamily residential to a specific plan. They also adopted the new Queen of the Valley Hospital specific plan, which allows for the hospital's future expansion to add approximately 490,000 square feet of development on the site. Here is the site plan for the development of the parking lot. A total of 403 parking spaces will be added, which would consist of compact parking spaces, which are located or proposed along the second row along this area where the pointer is pointing on the projector. Electric vehicle parking, which is the row of parking at the north side, or at the very top of the site plan, as I'm pointing out on the projector. And there would also be, and the rest of the parking spaces would be standard 8.5 by 18 feet parking spaces. An 8-foot tall wall will be constructed adjacent to the residential property on the north and east side, which is required by the specific plan. A 10-foot landscape buffer, a 10-foot wide landscape buffer is also being proposed, and this is also required by the specific plan. The project would also include 29 parking lot fixtures that will be dispersed throughout the lot. Here is the landscape plan. Landscaping will consist of a mixture of ground cover, shrubs, and trees, a mixture of 15-gallon size and 24-inch box-sized trees will be planted for a total of 41 trees on the parking lot site. Again, I'll go ahead and point out that there is a 10-foot wide landscape buffer that is being proposed as required by the specific plan, and this will be adjacent to the residential property. On the next slide is the lighting plan. I've highlighted the areas where the proposed light fixtures will be located, and that's highlighted in red on the plan. The total overall height from lowest adjacent grade, which is the finished grade, to the highest point of the light fixture would be 25 feet. However, there is a condition of approval, which is condition approval Q, which requires light fixtures closest to the north and east property line, because these are adjacent to the residential property to the north and east, to be reduced to 20 feet. And this is required by the specific plan as well. And along with this condition, the same condition also requires that a revised photometric plan be submitted, ensuring that the light will not spill onto the neighboring properties. As far as the environmental review and determination is concerned, the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, Section via section 15182 because the project is consistent to an approved specific plan. SOMAS prepared the CEQA Consistency Evaluation Memorandum, which is included as an attachment to the staff report. And this concludes that the project is consistent with a specific plan and that there are no impacts than what was evaluated in the certified final program environmental impact report. SOMAS is available for questions if the Planning Commission has questions regarding the environmental report that was prepared. As far as legal noticing is concerned, public hearing notices were sent out to 463 owners and occupants of properties within 300 feet of the project site as required by state law. This notice was also published in the newspaper and also posted on the city's website. With this, staff concludes the staff report, and staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving precise plan number 20-05. With the recommendation, staff also would like to point out and ask the Planning Commission to delete condition of approval DD, which includes or requires certain delivery hours and construction hours. This is already addressed in the EIR for the specific plan, which the applicant is required to comply with. And as written, this condition is not consistent with it. So staff would like the Planning Commission to delete this particular condition. And in addition, there is an engineering condition that refers to undergrounding all utilities. Staff would just like to clarify that undergrounding of the utilities would apply to new utilities for this site. Undergrounding new and existing utilities will be required for the future development of the medical office building and other structures on the site. Again, staff would like to let the Planning Commission know that SOMAS is available and is participating through Zoom to answer any questions regarding the environmental review. And also the applicant's representatives are also participating through Zoom.
Madam Chair, I have a question. So we're deleting, you'd like us to delete DD? Is there a reason replacing that? Did I miss that?
I'm sorry? There would not be any condition replacing it. It would just be deleting DD because it's already addressed in the project EIR. And as written, that particular condition is not consistent with what is required in the EIR.
Oh, okay. As far as the delivery of the equipment and the time?
Yes.
Okay, so this is really doesn't need to be there.
It doesn't need to be there.
And you received no inquiries at all about this from anybody of the 460?
I did not receive any phone calls or emails or letters from anybody.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to open this. If does anyone else have any questions? If not, we're going to open this to public hearing. Because we're going to be hearing testimony from applicants. Those in favor, then those opposed. We don't have any cards, right? Tonight.
That is correct. There are no speaker cards.
The applicant's not here?
The applicant is participating through Zoom. I'm going to go ahead and,
okay.
For the ones participating through Zoom, I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. And just whoever would like to speak first, go ahead and speak. They're all part of the applicant's team.
Okay, so do we hear from the applicant first, or? Okay, thank you.
I unmute all.
Joanne, this is John Moreland. I can speak if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair and Planning Commission. Hello, my name is John Moreland. I'm Director of Planning with KTGY, and also Project Coordinator on behalf of Emanate Health, the owner and operator of Queen of the Valley Hospital. I first wanted to take this opportunity to thank staff. They've been very responsive, professional, and courteous throughout this whole precise plan process. Joanne gave a great presentation. It was very thorough. I don't really have that much to add to it. What I do want to mention is that about a year ago, we did come before the Planning Commission, or the Planning Commission as part of the specific plan amendment, the comprehensive update for the entire Queen of the Valley campus and associated environmental report. And this application before you, this precise plan, is essentially the initial phase of those improvements that were brought just over a year ago to the commission. I do want to mention that our intent as part of this precise plan process for the parking lot is to ensure that elements that were identified as being required as a specific plan discussed at this body over a year ago, that those are essentially incorporated to protect the neighbors. They include the 8-foot tall solid wall that Joanne mentioned, the minimum 10-foot landscape buffer adjacent to the apartment complex that doesn't include any type of sidewalks or pedestrian walkways, just the landscape and the lighting fixtures. And also we agreed to the reduction in the height for those light fixtures within close proximity to the apartment complex to minimize any potential impacts. And also those lights will be shielded as needed, so light does not spill onto the adjacent property. I did hear something about the condition DD, and the intent of it is we want it to be essentially consistent with the existing noise ordinance, the city's noise ordinance. So that could be something that could be an option as well too. It's just as written. It's not. It's just not consistent with what was included in the previous EIR. Other than that, and the conditions that Joanne mentioned, we're in full support of the conditions as written and agree to them. And we also have Tony Blakely of Emanate Health, as well as J. Lee Williamson and Bob Talafas of the civil engineering firm, available should the commission have any questions. And once again, thank you so much for your time, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Commissioner
Glenn Kennedy here. Last time here, last year, a lot of residents were here from the Torrey Pines, and I don't know, they didn't come tonight. I still have the same issue I had a year ago. So when somebody opens their window, they're not going to be looking at a concrete wall, correct? You're not obstructing anybody's view.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear fully.
I'm saying when the residents there at the Torrey Pine Apartments, with this coming up, going up so many feet, when they open their window, they're not going to be looking at a concrete wall, correct? You're not obstructing anybody's view.
No, so this is.
That's my only concern.
So just to state that I understand, you wanted to ensure that the that when the residents look out the window, they're not looking essentially kind of at a concrete walk. I know that the way that the existing apartment homes are oriented, their garages are oriented along the southern edge of the parking lot, as well as the western edge. So there will be those parking areas and those carports that essentially will be on the opposite side of the wall, And then there will be the 8-foot tall wall in addition to landscaping and parking. And then there'll be no walkways or anything like that within the landscape area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Commissioner Redholz. I just want to make sure, are you keeping the Torrey Pines people, are you keeping them informed as to the progress and what the plans are? Are they in the loop on this?
Yes, it's as we're actually planning after this planning commission meeting. We're going to be reaching out to all the neighbors and conducting an outreach meeting prior to the essentially the next phase, which includes the medical office building, and in addition to another wing of the hospital. And so we plan to do that within the next month.
Okay, so this parking lot is just the first part of the specific plan, and as you go forward, the next phase is the medical office building.
That's correct. This is the initial part, essentially the medical office building, and the addition, which will be the emergency room and intensive care unit. Addition will take up some of the existing parking space. So the intent is to get this parking lot online so that there are no parking impacts to our neighbors.
Very good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, this is Sheena with, I just have a quick question though regarding the parking. You're planning to, in terms of timeline wise, you're planning to build the parking lot first, then take it out, and then rebuild the emergency building office? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that is correct. The intent is for this parking lot to be available for use for the hospital prior to any type of removal of the other parking spaces for the other facilities.
So for this parking lot plan, for now, you have not done any outreach to the residents besides this meeting?
That is correct. We have not done any outreach. The intent was that this was the initial phase. We were trying to get our plans together a few months ago, and considering when we went to council a year ago, we felt that a year time in early November is a good time to update on all the components before the construction begins on the parking lot, and as well as the other components of medical office building and the addition are brought forward, we're reaching out to those neighbors prior to those items coming before the commission.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may, we did send out notification to the ownership of Torrey Pines and the residents of Torrey Pines as well.
Thank you.
I could, if I may, just add one thing. When this project was first in its proposal stage, they did reach out. They had a meeting at the Queen of the Valley site in one of their smaller, conference rooms there. We introduced this project, and the Torrey Pines people and the other neighbors were in attendance. That's where that original introductions were met by the the affected people. They were there. So this is not, as far as I know, this is the Torrey Pines. This is not something that's just dropping on their laps. They were there, and they're well aware this project is happening, and they saw the phasing that was presented that night. So they're in the loop.
I also like to go back to the plan. Joanne, can you pull out the plan of the parking lot only? Thank you. So on the east side, where the red lines drawn east and north side of the parking lot, and then there's a 10-foot stretch, because currently the only neighbors was just across from that particular area. Is there any way that you can plant more trees along those sides? And do you guys have a photo sim so that we can take a look at to see what it looks like?
The first part of the question I heard was about planting additional trees, and the second part was was that simulations? Was that
Correct.
what I understood?
Because where I'm
So
getting
we-
at right now is that the current neighbors, the apartment units or the Torrey Pine apartment tenants, is used to seeing a park. And now that there's a parking lot with lights, maybe perhaps the trees along that side can block up some of the lights that's coming through. Because I don't know, I believe the hours for the parking lot is 24/7.
Yes, and definitely we could. The intent was to plant shrubs there, but we definitely can add trees along that buffer. That's definitely something that we can, and we don't have any photo simulations that we can offer over there. But however, a lot of those, there are considerable number of trees, and one of them was in the picture that Joanne showed as part of the overall presentation. There is a significant tree boundary that existed on both the park site as well as on the Torrey Pine site. And those trees that are going to be on the Torrey Pine sites will be remaining. So a number of those existing trees will be remaining.
Can you pull out the tree? Those trees will be remaining, or will be moved?
If I may, John,
Yes.
can you see the photograph on the screen?
I can that one. There's
These
I'm
trees
looking at it combined with the site plan, and along the site plan, it does call out roughly 8 trees that exist along the that would be the northeastern, the shorter property line that will be remaining, as well as probably nearly a dozen or so. Let's see, 5. Roughly, probably about a dozen trees along the long property line that would also be that will also remain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I may, Chair, the area along here calls out existing trees to remain, and also along this area as well.
So there are quite a few good-sized trees that will be moved from along that side of the wall.
There are trees that are proposed to be removed, and there are also trees that are existing trees that are proposed to remain.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? If not, we're going to close the public hearing. Go ahead. I don't know if there's no one here. Does anyone else want to speak on this item? Those opposed? Anyone here? Do we have anyone on Zoom? One phone call. Joanne?
It does not seem like anybody else on Zoom would like to speak. They're just they're available for questions.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to close the public hearing and open commission discussions.
Well, I mean, this is, as we discussed during the presentation, this is really the first, this is the starting point of the specific plan when we adopted a specific plan for this project. So I think it's a parking lot, and it's the first phase, so I have no problem with it. We've got to start it off, and I'll make a motion to approve it.
Well, we'd like to have a discussion first. I actually is not very comfortable, especially on the buffer wall area where the red line for the wall on the north side and the east side of the parking lot. I know it's a parking lot, but we can make it, for example, some of the trees are being removed. They're quite mature trees as the photo that shows. So I like to see if we can incorporate more trees, more mature trees that it can grow in that area to buffer the lights from the parking lot. And also, it makes it, keep it continue the green possible inside the parking lot as well. That's why I'm asking for photo sim so that we can see visually what the whole parking lot's going to look like. You can have parking lot designs. We can request for more trees. I'd like to see that. Commissioner Glenn Kennedy, do you have anything to add?
I have a lot of hard feelings. I fought that very, very viciously. The sale of that was a Little League. It's parkland that we can never get back. But the residents spoke, and I'm not going to stand in the way of progress, so I'm ready to move on. And the gentleman addressed my concerns about obstruction. As long as none of the residents in the Torrey Pines are being obstructed, I'm good and I'm ready to go. So with that, I'll second Herb's motion.
Madam Chair, I would like to point out regarding the light issue, there are two conditions of approval on page 5 of the resolution. As Joanne noted in her presentation, the lighting height, that light standards need to be reduced in height to 20 feet along the north and east property line, and they are required to comply with the city's codes requiring parking lot design and lighting standards. So that will certainly be reviewed by staff prior to any permits being issued. So we are comfortable that there won't be any light impacts to any of the adjacent neighbors.
Thank you. Despite all the lighting requirements, I still think that there are trees along that side of the shade. And also, because it used to be a park, this area we're going to turn into a parking lot. That's understandable. But we can add trees to make it look much nicer in our community. Whether it's, people can stand along the tree area all around the parking lot. I like to see more of that.
We could certainly add a condition, and Joanne knows this staff report better than I do, but we could certainly add a condition that requires the planting of 24-inch box trees at every 40 feet on center along the north and east property line. I'm not sure if the conditions get into that level of detail or not, Joanne?
We can go into that level of detail.
Okay. So if the commission, the maker of the motion and the seconder wanted to add that as a condition, that could certainly be included in this item.
Prior to this, can we check with the applicant to see if they're acceptable of the condition?
Are you talking to me, Joanne?
Yes.
Okay. I'm having a hard time understanding you guys. What was the question?
Did you hear the condition of approval that Mark proposed regarding adding additional trees along the north and east property line?
I did.
Are you okay with the Planning Commission adding that particular condition of approval?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This is Chip Riddle. I would like to chime in, though. Aren't we meeting the requirements set forth by what the city conditions are already? in our plan? Is this over and above the conditions?
Yes, it would be additional conditions. The project as is complies with city code and the specific plan for the site. And there was a request to add a condition of approval to add additional trees along the property line.
But let's be more specific. How many more trees? What is the specific condition?
There are lots of ways to make that parking lot look more green than just a regular parking lot. For example, along the street area, you can plant more trees, and I'm particularly more interested in the area, particularly currently that has lots of trees already, and while you're building it, you're going to remove those trees. I like to see more green along that side so that at least it blocks the light as the tree matures. That's why I want to see photo sims. Whether it's going to be 10 years from now, how does the tree look? How much screening does it get? I understand that this is a parking lot. You can just cement the whole area with concrete, or you can concrete it in with nice mature tree placed in a certain location. It will look really nice for our community.
This is John Moreland. If I may make a proposal from at least from a design perspective. Generally along kind of this corridor and with a 10-foot wide landscape area. Generally, as I would recommend to kind of get something specific is about 1 tree per 30 linear feet of property line, provided that an existing mature tree does not exist there. So that essentially we would have kind of a continuous length along both of those property lines.
That sounds good, but is it possible for you to come back and present us with a photo sim what it would look like when the tree matures? Those you can do. It's not that difficult.
May I make a point of, there is a motion and a second. We haven't even determined whether or not there's support for what you're suggesting. So I'm going to call for the question.
So you want to just vote on that? Take roll call, or?
I made a motion. We have a second. I don't know that there's support on the commission to make those changes or add another condition. I haven't heard it anyway. So there is a motion and a second on the floor, and I would like to have a roll call on the motion.
Okay, roll call, please. Mark?
Yes. I will only call the commissioners who are present. So we have, again, just for the record, we have a motion by Commissioner Redholz, a second by Commissioner Kennedy to approve the project as submitted. Commissioner Kennedy? Commissioner Redholz?
Aye.
And Chair Hing?
No. So this action is final unless it's appealed to City Council within 10 days?
Question you were asking? The actions. She's asking. I think if the actions appealable.
Yes, it's subject to appeal.
Yeah.
So the Planning Commission action to approve Precise Plan 20-05 has been approved on a 2-to-1 vote. I know the city attorney is quickly verifying, but we do believe that it only requires a quorum of those present to approve the matter. But we'll verify that before the meeting is over. But at this point, it looks like the item has been approved.
So moving on to non-hearing items. This is number 2, which is the Subcommittee for Design Review number 20-79. Applicant is Jay Summers. Location is 1615 Cambridge Court. The applicant is requesting to construct a 77 square foot entry porch and an 80 square foot deck on the front elevation of the single family residence. And who will be presenting this item?
Assistant Planner Renee Aguilar will be presenting the item.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Tonight I will be presenting item number 3, Subcommittee for Design Review number 20-79. Following scope of work was reviewed by the Design Review Board and had asked the applicant to revise the plans, and the applicant requested that the project be forwarded to the Planning Commission for reconsideration. At the September 22nd, 2020 Subcommittee for Design Review meeting, the subcommittee reviewed the proposed 77 square foot entry porch to the existing 2-story single-family residence. Staff had made a recommendation that the proposed front entry porch be reduced in height to match the existing single-story roof line because the 2-story entry porch design intensifies the mass of the 2-story house, making it look out of scale with other homes in the neighborhood. The subcommittee had agreed with staff's recommendation and directed that the applicant redesign the front entry porch by reducing its height. However, the applicant requested that the proposal be forwarded to the Planning Commission for reconsideration. I present you the existing single-family residence. As you can see, the single-family residence right now has the front entry porch at the first floor level. This is the proposed front entry porch. As you can see, the total height for that front entry porch would be at 19 feet. Again, at the design review meeting, the board comments were that the proposed entry porch was too high, not in synchronization with the existing neighborhood, and out of character within the existing neighborhood. Planning staff did survey 19 homes on that street within the neighborhood and found no porches of that height. I did list design guidelines on there, design the house to fit into the architectural context of the surrounding neighborhood, and that front porch roof line should be lower in height than the main portion of the roof. That being said, staff recommends that the porch be reduced to the existing height of the existing porch to match the surrounding neighborhood. That concludes my presentation. I believe the applicant is here for questions, and myself as well. Thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you.
On the front elevation, it's hard to tell how long those. Where are the front doors? Can we see those or?
Yeah. Do we have a laser pointer? Okay, let's see, I'm gonna do my best here. So, looks like the doors are tucked in the back over there, and you can just kind of see an opening coming from the side and then the front as well. It's my understanding that this would be an opening as well.
Wait, which area? Can you point it to?
At the top here, that would be an opening.
So that top portion looks like it can incorporate it in with the second story.
Yes.
And then the bottom portion, it just opens up more, basically.
Yeah, it's like just a porch with a high ceiling.
Okay. Okay, so we open this up. Does anyone has applicant, those in favors and or those opposed? Come on.
Chair, Commission, I'm Jay Summers. I'm the applicant and the designer of the project. And so I was addressing basically that it is an extension of the height, but at the same time, it really, as far as, I don't feel that the mass is really there because of the way that it's open. I think it's opened up in the front and on the sides, and then with the window on the top, that the mass is really not there, and architecturally it's compatible with the house, with that structure, that style of the architecture of that particular model. There's several different models, there's probably 6 different models in the neighborhood. It's a tract, and there's a wide range of architectural views, so it's not anything that is out of the ordinary for this particular model. There's 3 models, I believe, of this particular house on the street. The residence across the street has a 1.5-story entry that's a shed roof that's unique to itself. And the owner really wanted just to open up the front, because if you looked at the first, could you show the first picture, Renee? Thank you. It's closed and it's kind of dark. And so what he really wanted to do was kind of open up that front and bring some more light into the opening. And it's a 2-story entryway on the inside also. So that would be bringing that into there. As far as being out of character with the neighborhood, I don't know. That's just an architectural opinion, I believe. I don't think that the mass is there. I think for that particular individual house, that would be something that would be, unacceptable. We tried at the very beginning, not me, but the first designer tried to present a roof structure that was halfway open, and that was rejected. And the comment that I heard from that designer was that they either wanted to see it on the 1st-story level or with the 2nd story. So the owner decided, and I talked to him, and we decided that the 2nd story would look better, because really putting a gable roof on the 1st story really doesn't do much to open it up. It has a hip roof now, and so that's what we were thinking. So I think that it's within the architectural style of the residence itself. It resonates enough and gives enough of an opening. And so that's why we asked that you guys could take another look at it and reconsider it.
Okay, don't leave yet. We have some questions. So,
Sure.
I guess the front porch area to the entry door, how is that the length of the garage? A good 20 feet or so?
No, it's 12 foot 8 inches, exactly. So it's a little more than half of the garage length.
Okay, so there's quite a depth into it.
The garage goes back further, yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. This design, is this owner-driven?
Sorry?
Is this the owner driving this design, or is it architectural-driven?
It's the owner's idea that he really wanted to open up the front, and that was my interpretation of what his desires were.
Okay, do we have any questions? Any other questions for our architect?
Well, let me just ask one other thing. I guess the owner's been given the opportunity based on the comments and the results of the design review subcommittee meeting. They were given the option or the opportunity to at least present an alternative to this. And they decided are they completely close-minded to another attempt at bringing this so it would be not so high up?
No, I,
Please come up.
yeah, sure. Let the construction man answer.
Hello. Thank you for hearing me out and community. In speaking with the owner, just so you guys are aware, this property owner has a vested interest in completing this project, and he's been at this property for over 15 years. And when I spoke to him today, as a matter of fact, he sent his apologies of him not being able to be here. He was tending to personal matters. But that's not to say that he's not vested in the property. He has the opportunity to flat out move to another house, but he loves this house so much that he's hired us, not necessarily to sway him into a particular architectural design, but that he's been very much vocal with me to being open-minded about having that porch line maybe somewhere in the middle, but the committee guidelines did not allow for that. And so, as a matter of fact, I would like to state that that the guidelines really weren't that much clear as far as what is allowed and what is not allowed. In our conversations with Assistant Renee, there's an email conversation with us that basically he gives his recommendation, and although he may I may be wrong on this point, but if he has some type of say in this particular project, he's given that kind of say by delegated authority that he may have. And I just kind of like, in hearing him out, I asked them, do you guys have anything in writing in terms of like what's allowed on a second single family story home? And he referred to basically the handout that just state that that we needed to incorporate 1-story guidelines in an architectural design for a 2-story home and additions. Number one, I don't believe that this would fall under the guidelines of an addition. We wanted to originally present the roof line in the middle, and that's what the client originally wanted. But what we understood was like, no, it needed to be in either the first level or the second level. And to that, I would like to add that the main portion of this roof lies in the second story. To put a roof porch entryway on the first level, I understand that that's the way the homes were built back then, but the homeowner has insisted that he should have a right to have a home with an entryway that is suitable to him. So mainly, I just want to speak on behalf of him. I'm not 100%. This is not my house. I'm just a general contractor here. But in a way, I was made to feel like he should be given the opportunity to have a home that's appealing to him and to his family, being that he's been a resident there for over 15 years. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, let me just make a couple of quick comments. First of all, as far staff goes by the guidelines that are established by the Planning Commission and City Council, okay? So they present to you what those are. Then staff does the staff report, as you can see, and they make a recommendation. I mean, what he wants, what the owner wants is currently in front of us because the Planning Commission makes that decision. Staff does not make that decision. Staff makes a recommendation, okay? Then it's up to this commission to decide how they want to go. That isn't what he wants to do is currently in front of us. Okay? There could be votes to do this. I don't know. The bottom line is, no matter what decision this commission makes, if the applicant or a neighbor or a resident doesn't like our decision can then again be appealed to the city council, who will have the final decision. If there's no appeal of our decision within the 10 days, it's final, and that's done. But staff, in my view, I've been on this commission many, many years, staff brings us a project, they work with you, the applicant, they prepare the report, and they bring it to us with a recommendation. Okay? We are under no obligation to follow that recommendation. This commission will deliberate, look at the plans, and come to a decision. And it's one of those situations where you please half the people and you don't please the other half. That's the way it is. Okay? But I kind of take exception with a little bit of your tone, the way you presented that, to be honest with you. I mean, staff's doing their job. That's their job. They bring it to us. We are the ones that are the decision-making body, not staff. Okay? So we will make a decision. The reason I asked if the owner was even amenable, because it sounds like the owner was given opportunities to come back based on the fact that the two representatives on the subcommittee are 2/5 of the planning commission. Okay? They're part of the planning commission. There's 2/5. So it's if I have a project in front and 2/5 of the commission have already indicated they're not really thrilled with this, one more vote is all you need all would be needed to turn it down. You've already got 2/5. That would send a signal to me that maybe I better take another look at this. That's just me. Because now now we have our other commissioners arrived. But, I don't know where the support is. I have no idea. I'll tell you the truth. I'm not thrilled with that. I went out there to the neighborhood. I walked around, and I've never seen anything like that. Not to say that, that's what he wants. That's fine. But we have to make a judgment as far as character of a neighborhood, as far as aesthetics, and just plain how it looks. And to me, I just think that's too high. I mean, that's just my opinion.
And if I can,
sure.
If I can respond regarding the underlying tone, that in no way did I mean for that to come across as critical. I was just mainly making an observation. And so what might have been misunderstood is more of a passionate a plea for this to be considered, because the homeowner again is open to having that roof line lowered. In no way are we trying to cram this under anybody's throat or anything like that. We just want to be considered and be given a fair shot. And what you are seeing presented it's a proposal, and we have not even gotten to the mailing out of what we're proposing to the residents or anything like that. So again, we just want to be given just a fair shake here, and give us a little bit of guidance as far as what we are allowed to do. We are open to suggestions. So what you see presented before you is just an architectural design based on the recommendations that we had in our conversations with city officials.
Thank you very much. And I didn't catch your name?
Fabian Hernandez.
Fabian Hernandez. Thank you very much for explaining what the owner wants, and I really appreciate it that the owner has been living here for the last 15 years. And based on what I've seen, and also I'd like to welcome Don Holtz. He just came in. And can you flip back to the first, this is Don. This is what the existing roof right now. Give me 1 sec.
I'm going to recluse myself because I didn't hear everything that went on.
Can we bring you up to date so you can participate? Pardon? Can we bring you up to date so you can participate?
Yeah, Yeah, okay, wonderful then.
Would you guys like to hear from the designer once again?
Yes, that would be fine, but I like to say thank you very much for bringing in this particular project, and I really appreciate hearing what the owner likes to do versus what we're going to approve. And it looks like you articulated really well in terms of what it is that you want to let us know what the owner wants. He has, after all, been living at his house for the last 15 years, and he does have a say in what his house should look like. Now, in terms of whether we approved it or not, it's a different story. And if this thing gets denied, you can always appeal to City Council. And they're a complete separate body. They can approve or reject it. So there are a lot of options, and this is the right option, and it's the process that we're going through. And I really do appreciate that you come in and the architect come in and trying to explain to us, because currently what I'm seeing is that the current house is one story, and the roof, the area that you're building is not really increasing the porch area. I feel like it's the same size. However, you're lifting that up and bringing it more light, making it a little bit higher, and the square footage or what have you, it hasn't changed based on what I've seen. This is what the old plan is, and when you bring it up, that area right now that's sort of like look pitch dark. I've been to home like this before. During the daytime, it's pretty dark. So it seems like the newer architect seems to bring in more light, lift up higher, and this for the same square footage. So I am, I'm glad that you brought it up, and I'm okay with it. Some commissioners are not, but I think it makes the house bring it up to date, and it makes it bring more light. And I think maybe after 15 years of a bit of dark, maybe they wanted a little brighter looking home for that porch area. And you guys incorporated nicely how the look of it is gonna look in that area. Can you bring up the new design? Yeah.
So that would be an incorporation of it. And again, we would just kind of like to point out that this wasn't particularly our first option. As far as when we spoke to the homeowner, he just wanted a roof line that was roughly in the middle of both the first and the second story. And to our understanding, it would not look symmetrical with the building itself. And so that's why we are presenting a front entryway on a two-story. And just to point out, on that same block, councilman, planning members here, there are porch entryways that tie in and go all the way up to the second story. So there are a variety of roofs that are different. And the designer, Jay, actually mentioned one other one, but I just kind of wanted to point out that second one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to come back up again? Because we have a new commissioner here.
Give you the special one here. See if I can do a repeat performance. I was reviewing just basically what the background was from the design review meeting, and their issues were that they thought that there was that it made too much of a mass, and I felt because that it was really is narrow. It does increase in height, but as far as the mass is really not there. I don't feel, just because it's open on the front, on the side, and then with the window on the top. As far as out of character and harmony with the neighborhood, well, it's an individual house. There's 6 different models in that track area, and I think that it's within the architectural context of the way that the house would be a logical extension of what we would do to open that up. The only other thing that I said is that there was one entry across the street that was at a story and a half, and that was our the previous designer's idea that didn't happen. So I think that, as far as I didn't see the drawing, but it presents itself in the context of what the owner would desiring to open it up and bring more light into it and give a level look to it.
Let me say this, I'm familiar with the project. I just wanted to recluse myself because I didn't hear what was said earlier.
They want you to jump in and vote on it, so. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Do we have anyone opposing this project? Joanne, has any card been sent out for this?
I'm sorry.
Has any neighbors been notified of this project?
This application does not require a public hearing notification. It's not a public hearing item.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question of staff. Refresh our memories, what can he do with that porch? I mean, what is our requirement for that porch height?
If we follow the design guidelines, match the main roof, which our interpretation is the first floor, and then with the design guidelines of fitting the context of the neighborhood, planning staff felt that the main roof line would be the first floor. And I did pull up the house across the street, so I can show that if you guys would like. I believe,
like to see it, yes.
Yeah. And Jay, if that's the house, then let me know. If not, then we can find it. Yeah.
I was out there today. I saw that house. That did not trigger to me that was similar to that house.
The difference is that's a shed roof going up beyond what the other roof was as a hip roof. That's just there's a structural difference in the appearance. So it gives the appearance that it's up at a story and a half at the top of the part of the shed on that. That's all I was saying, is that it's, whereas if you go back to cross the street, then you can see the difference. It's doesn't appear to be as high as the one across the street does.
This area is quite hilly. Wait until we get to the back portion. Thanks for being here, but I have a quick question though. There's more to the back that you're adding on. Can you explain that part as well?
Yeah, the back, we don't have a photograph or a rendering of that. I don't know if it's on the plan, but you can see it on the plan.
Renee, do you have the back portion that's the addition?
Not on the PowerPoint.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, everybody was happy with that, so we weren't addressing with that. But it is an octagon tower in the back, basically. That's a full 2-story tower that sits up. It's not quite as high as the main ridge, but it's just a lot of vertical, and that's what we were aiming at in the front without getting too carried away, I think.
It seems like the octagon portion toward the back, it's only the main floor right now on the first floor.
Yes, correct.
They're bringing the octagon all the way up to the second floor, including the roof and all.
Yes, for the master bathroom.
Master bathroom? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's kind of add-on, that's the addition, basically.
Right, on the back.
I see.
And then there's also a deck, but everybody's happy with the deck also, so.
How high is the deck from the, I know it's really slopey, that particular lot. I know it's going out 20 feet, but how low does it?
Basically, we took the increments and the guidelines on the design of the deck, and I believe we've got no higher than 2 8-foot segments, breaking down like the guidelines show that we're supposed to be stepped and And we've got a wall at 5 feet in front of it that's 8 foot, I believe, and then there's another 8 foot.
Wait, so the
think
deck
I've got
has-
the elevation in there. You can,
I don't see the elevations, but the deck has 2 level or just one?
no, there's one level of the deck, but we've stepped it in accordance with the guidelines.
At the dirt area, you're saying? Because it looks like, this is what the deck look like. I don't see a stair going down, and then there's a deck. Or maybe this is where you're talking about, the flat area right here.
Yeah, the outside line. There should be an elevation with that.
So the maximum height toward the back, that would be the west side, would be 8 feet
Yes,
for
correct.
the post locations.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
Steps, yeah, and that's, Renee gave me the guidelines on those, so I made sure we followed those on that particular
Okay,
portion of
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Does anyone have questions? So if no one else is going to comment on this project, we're going to end public comments. And do we have a motion? We'll call for vote. Have any discussions?
Well, you know, I'm not comfortable with what I see here. I haven't been, and I'm still not. But I would like to give them the opportunity to come back with an alternative proposal. Maybe with some of photo sims that you like a lot. Maybe we could get that. I don't know. But from my seat, I just don't like it from the way it looks right now.
I think the roof, I think it's too high. I just need to, it's a nice project, but if you could just lower it, I'd be good with that. If not, then I'm going to have to vote no.
If not, do you have anything to add?
I'd like to know if we had any input from the neighbors, if anybody was against or if anybody was for it.
It's not a public hearing. She already answered.
Well, I mean, to the staff, it's all right, right?
This item, if I may, this item did not require public noticing, at least for the scope of work that we are reviewing tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we can make a motion and take a vote on it.
All right, well, I'll make a motion.
Make a motion?
Sure.
Sir, would you be willing to drop the roof line?
Yes, absolutely.
I voted against it because I thought it was out of character with the rest. I've been on the street. There's 19 homes on the street, and I looked at all of them. Like you said, you have the shed roof across the street. I see that, and I think it's a nice project. I just think it's just too high. And if you'll lower it, I'm good with that.
That's where the confusion in there lied. Would we be required to lower it at the first level? Is that what you guys want to see? Is there any way that roof line can be slightly elevated?
Would you be willing to drop it? Or would the owner be willing to drop it?
Well, the owner wouldn't. He asked me what I thought about it, and I fully explained to him that we were before a review committee, and so like really what I had to say really didn't affect the outcome. I made him understand that, and I told them if they don't allow for this, then they will more than likely allow us or have us bring it down to the first level. And his original intent was to have a slightly bigger door inside his entryway. I believe right now that's all he wants. So just if we are allowed to put in a maybe a 9-foot door and with a roof line that will allow us to accommodate for that, we're open to that.
Okay. I mean, I'll work with you a little bit, if you need to go up a few, but not, from my seat, it's just too high.
Yeah. And we're good with that. We're good so long as we're able to install just a bigger door.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can we make a motion to continue the item and have them bring back an alternative design? We can do that, correct?
Thank you.
Okay. And also, can you fill out a card as well?
Sumner wants to speak.
If I could just, on one, just so I'm clear as to what kind of a height would be acceptable, what I'm hearing everybody say is that you would like the fascia line to match on the first level all the way around, but we can put a gable on it and have it open. And then run it back so we can extend it and make the entry doors higher. That's what I'm hearing you say. Can we go a foot higher? And okay, all right, okay, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll be redesigning for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's my motion to continue it, give them the opportunity to redesign and bring it back to us at a date uncertain? Yeah.
I'll second that.
Call for motion.
Just made the motion.
Roll call for the vote, please.
So for the record, we have a motion to continue the item for redesign, motion by Commissioner Redholz, second by Commissioner Kennedy. I will now take the roll, and as has been noted, Commissioner Holtz did arrive at 7:50, and he has heard the whole item. So Commissioner Holtz?
I agree.
Commissioner Jaquez is not present. Commissioner Kennedy? Commissioner Redholz?
Aye.
And Chair Hing. The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. We're gonna do the initiation of code amendment number 20-08. Is generally exempt. The applicant is City of West Covina downtown plan area. To initiate a code amendment that consists of certain changes to the West Covina downtown plan and code. And who will be presenting this? Renee? Or Joanne will? Thank you.
Yeah, the planning manager, Joanne Burns, will be presenting this item.
I will be presenting the item. Since this is a initiation of a code amendment, there is no PowerPoint presentation, but I'll go ahead and give a bit of a background for informational purposes. The City Council adopted a downtown plan in conjunction with the general plan on December 20th, 2016. The downtown plan is a form-based code which regulates development in the downtown area of West Covina. Since the downtown plan was adopted, 2 separate code amendments have been adopted. The first code amendment was adopted on August 21st, 2018. This was considered a cleanup amendment that adopted certain standards or changed certain development standards within the code to make it consistent, to make it more consistent. And on December 18, 2018, a second code amendment was adopted, which revised the commercial parking requirements in the T5 urban center and T4 general urban zone to reduce it to 65% of the parking standards required in the municipal code for non-residential uses. Since then, staff did receive a letter or request from Aaron Tallarico of MLC Holdings on September 30th, 2020, requesting a code amendment be initiated to consider amending 4 different items in the downtown plan. The first item is to revise the ground floor height to reflect ground floor residential uses from 12 feet to 10 feet. So in the downtown plan, residential uses, all uses are required to have a ceiling height of 12 feet, and all other floors are required, can be a minimum height of 10 feet. Staff does believe that this particular request is acceptable and also makes sense because for residential uses in particular, it's the height, the plate height is not higher on the ground floor. And this is the plate height being higher on the ground floor is more typical for commercial uses. With this, in addition to the request, staff would also like to propose that the height on the ground floor be increased to a height higher than the 12 feet for commercial purposes or uses. The second request is to allow the same area of private open space, which was 100 square feet on upper levels with a smaller minimum dimension of 6 feet. So what they're proposing is to reduce the minimum dimension from 8 feet to 6 feet. They are still going to meet the minimum dimension, the minimum width, but not the depth. And in staff's opinion and recommendation, this also is acceptable and makes sense architecturally. The third request is to reduce the minimum width of individual row houses from 18 feet to 16 feet. And the fourth request is to remove the maximum width requirement for stoops. In the downtown plan, the maximum allowed for stoops is 8 feet, and this may be too restrictive architecturally. Having a maximum dimension for stoops itself. If the Planning Commission initiates the code amendment and adopts the resolution, the applicant will submit the application and we will move forward in processing the code amendment. There is this code amendment will be processed with other applications for the development of a particular site within the downtown plan area. If the Planning Commission has any questions for the requester, his team is available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions?
Well, I would like to, Aaron's here. I'd like to, maybe you can come up and just kind of give us the background and explain how this all fits. Thank you.
Chair Hang and Commissioners, thank you for hearing us tonight. I will tell you I'm very excited about being here at this hearing because most of our hearings have been virtual over the last 6 months. And when Matt said we'd be able to come in person, I said, oh, we're going to go. So I appreciate the time. My name's Aaron Tallarico. I'm with MLC Holdings. That's Meritage Homes, though. We're the land company. We entitled and built now and are selling the Cameron 56 development here on West Cameron. And so far, do you want me to keep this on? So far we've sold 30 of the 56 homes. And yeah, it's been great, even with COVID. And some of these infill projects we have slowed down versus maybe some of the stuff, Inland Empire, single-family homes. But we're still selling very strong here. There's still a lot of demand. I think ultimately it just speaks to the downtown plan and what you guys envisioned. And that transect of private to public space, where you go higher density internal here from City Hall out, and then you've got our kind of three-story town, little less dense, and then to the existing single-family neighborhoods. It's worked out really well. Joanne, thank you for that explanation. What we asked for, actually, of these 4 items, I initially, when Matt Mahara, who's the project manager on the project we're working on now, which is also right next door to Camera 56, we also have a site, the Vincent School site as well, we're working on, that Matt's also doing. I initially thought we were just going for the 6 foot minimum dimension versus 8. And then as I think himself and Joanne kind of dug in, and then we have Johanna who works with us, looked at the form-based code, there became a few other items that came up, and we're like, oh, yikes. And I go, Matt, it's one thing if we ask for one thing, but all of a sudden there's 4 things. But just so you know, of the 4 items, the ground floor height at 12, so on Camera 56, we have ground floor heights at 10, or 11.5 on the units fronting West Cameron with the stoops, and then on the internal ones, they're 10 feet. So I guess somehow that got through without the amendment. And then the upper floor open space, again, we do have upper floor balconies on Camera 56 that are 6 foot minimum dimension, not 8. And then also we pulled a few codes just so for reference for the commissioners. Alhambra, Pomona, Whittier, Glendora, Monty, they all 6 foot is a pretty typical minimum. So we thought that would be a good amendment to the code. It allows just more flexibility. Ultimately, all these just allow for more flexibility so that this downtown code can be implemented, as I think you guys envisioned. Tandem townhomes, 18 right now is the minimum to 16. So that's just our standard tandem townhome dimension. You'll see it on our Vincent project as well. And then stoop dimensions, it really, I guess, takes away from the creativity or the kind of the form. Ultimately, form-based codes are form more than anything. And as long as, I guess, hopefully we're still not being respectful of the intent of it, and that's our goal. Thank you. Hopefully that wasn't too winded. And I'm available, or Matt is, for any questions.
Are you saying that these, which you're proposing, are more or less industry standards? Is that what it sounds like?
Yes, we don't have the exact same because we like to keep most of our communities unique, but we've got similar 3-story town product that we're developing that, yes, it is standard, is the answer to the question.
So let me I guess, ask you a question. So instead of 12 feet, you want us to lower it to 10 feet height, the first floor?
Yeah, just on the interior units, on West Cameron, we still have an 11.5 feet. We're just 6 inches short there. Because we still have the 18-inch stoop.
Why not 12? Because the height is not there?
We get squeezed in the top because we have a height limit as well. And that's ultimately what happens. We would end up with like a 7-foot plate somewhere on one of the floors, which is not ideal. You want at least a minimum 8-foot ceiling height. So that's ultimately what happens. We have a 35-foot height. And whether you're doing flat or whether you're doing some sort of pitch roof, you still end up hitting right on 35. If most jurisdictions that we're working in and where we're having a similar product, we usually, these things go, I think, and Matt can correct me, but I think 37, 38 feet is the typical height for the 3-story town. So that's what would happen if we went to 12, those next floors would get pinched from that top.
So let me ask you this, because this is a form-type building, and we have a height limitation for you. And ideally, it seems like you want to build, I guess, current story right now for each floor. What is the standard right now? Not in West Covina, but your standards.
Either 8 or 9.
8 or 9?
Yeah, 9 is ideal when you're doing a townhome versus 8.
So 9 foot is it's a little bit higher than what the traditional in the old
8
days.
foot, yeah.
Correct. So you're short in heights. Is there, instead of changing the code, and since this is a form type of building, will we be able to be flexible to give you the heights that you needed?
I think maybe that happened on Camera 56 because we're 10.5 feet there. But I don't know, and that was, I don't know.
Because obviously, if you're building 50 homes or 100 homes, I like for you to build to today's standards, not what it was 20, 30, 50 years ago. So, especially this is in a downtown area, and if instead of changing our code, is there any way that we can, I'm not sure. So, I'm trying to understand, why are you looking for these little final, a foot here, 2 feet there? I'm trying to understand, like, there's four different items that you're looking for. So the first one is because the height limitations that we have, and you're not adding up or not getting the height that you want with today's height. Okay, so that's one. Now the second one, allow the same area of private open space, 100 square foot. You're going to still give 100 square foot, but you want us to reduce it to 6 feet.
The minimum dimension, yeah. Versus 8 feet. Right now it's 8 feet.
Any particular reason why 6 feet versus 8?
That is an industry standard, is 6 feet minimum. That provides the right amount of space to be able to put your chair, your table, and still have plenty of room, or your barbecue for that matter. Most jurisdictions we work in, including actually here when we did Camera 56, we did do a 6 foot minimum. So it's just.
So do you, with 100 foot, do you get two or just one area? For
two.
Two areas.
There's usually a space, down below plus a balcony.
So if it's 18 feet, you can't very well give us 8 feet because you want the 18 to reduce to 16 feet, the row house.
Oh, you're talking about the row house now.
Well, the top kind of affected by the third as well, because the row house is 18 feet, the width, I believe.
The minimum's 18 feet, and we want to 16 feet, yeah.
If you divide by half, you can only do so much, 8 feet, and you need to reduce it a little bit less to 6 feet.
Yes, you do get constricted, yeah.
Okay, and then the last one, explain that, the last one. Why would you need...
On the stoop dimensions, removing the maximum width, I believe we do have some stoops that are above the 8 foot maximum width, or we do.
Can you explain what a stoop is?
Oh, it's the entry feature into. So if you're looking at the Cameron 56 development on West Cameron, you have those step ups that give it that street scene that allow that first floor to live above the sidewalk, which is kind of an urban design.
Okay.
So that's the stoop.
So you wanted.
We don't want to be constricted on if it's more. It's more. I think the max width is 8 feet, correct? And I think we've got ones that are greater. Maybe Matt. I mean, do you mind if Matt actually knows that specific detail better than I do?
Hi, my name's Matt Mahara, Meritage Homes. I'm the project manager for the project, and really what it is in the downtown plan. There's a maximum stoop dimension. We're trying to have the stoop extend across the width of each townhome to create a more open space, more open, livable, usable space. So that's why we just don't want to be restricted to having a maximum dimension.
So explain to me, because currently the maximum is 8 feet. What would you like to do since the row is only 16 feet?
So on certain townhomes, we're widening the stoop to the length of each townhome to create a more livable, enjoyable,
I see. So the whole front is more like a balcony, the whole front porch.
Exactly. So we don't want to be restricted to that, or at least our current design conflicts with the code as it's written. So.
Okay. Thank you for explaining.
Absolutely.
It does clarify why you guys needed the 4 items. Go ahead.
Is if the commission, adopts the intention to move forward, we could provide exhibits and to be a little bit more descriptive, so it's easier for us to point at it and show exactly where it occurs on our sites.
Okay. Thank you. So we have commission discussions before we open up the public hearing? Or the other way first? Or open to public for comments?
It's not a public.
There's no public? Okay. So,
Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Overall, just as a reminder, this code amendment will apply to all areas in the downtown plan. And not just for a specific project. And overall, staff feels that these code amendments would benefit the downtown plan because it allows creativity within the architecture of in design. So staff is in support of this particular, of these particular code amendments.
Can I have Aaron to come up again? I have a question for him. Aaron, it seems like these buildings that you're trying to build, how many stories are there?
The 3-story.
So ideally, you want the first story to be 10 foot, the second story to be another 10, and then the third is 10 foot. So basically the first one is a garage. The second one is I would assume, kitchen and maybe a little bathroom. And then the third story would be the livable bedrooms, 2 or 3 bedrooms, ideally.
It depends on the unit. But yeah, the second story is usually the living space. But there is some units that have a bedroom on that floor as well. And then, yeah, the master bedroom and other secondary bedrooms are on the 3rd floor. It's 9 to 10 feet on the 1st floor, but then there's also, you got to remember, the between floors is about 1.5 feet. And then you have another 9 foot, and there's 1.5 feet, and then another 9 foot, like if you did 9 foot ceilings, and then you have the pitch of the roof. Ultimately, if you just said, hey, Aaron, show us this product from your architect or this 3-story town, what's it typically? It's typically about 37, 38 feet tall. We actually squeeze it down a little bit to get underneath the 35-foot height limit of the code.
So your new building now, you needed 37-foot height. And what do we have in our city? It's only 35 foot?
35 for the 3-story.
So he's short a few feet.
But we're fine. We've adjusted already to get underneath the 35 feet, just like we did at Cameron 56.
Well,
like on Vincent, when you see Vincent, I believe, and Matt can correct me, but I believe that 3-story town's 37 feet tall, but it's not in the downtown plan.
Well, Aaron, since we're working on revising our plan, I'd like to hear, what are you guys doing today to the new buildings? Like if you needed 37 feet, well, instead of trying to adjust it to pack it into 35 feet or so, we'll find a way adjusting the plan or adjusting the code if we can. Yeah. Among our commissioners. But we also need to understand what it is that you're looking for, what is new development is looking for. Yeah. We don't hear that often enough. Right. And I guess instead of changing a code, do we need to look at our code and say, hey, look, if this is what people are doing out there, developers, the newer buildings, should we work with the developers and learn for ourselves? Because I really don't know what is, it seems like you're saying today's code is like, the 9 foot, 10 foot is standard heights for the height of the ceiling versus traditionally we live in an 8 foot, I guess, I don't know, 80% of the houses in LA might be.
Yeah, right.
We built a long time ago that it was 8 foot height. So if our code is, you can say need to be worked on, we'll work on it and have a discussions. And I like to have, and thank you for answering some of the questions.
No, thank you. And I mean, just West Covina, you guys have been actually and staff and Mark and Joanne, very helpful. We're, as you can tell, because of the amount of money and time we're investing in West Covina, we really like working with this city. Maybe, the only suggestion maybe would be, if in the downtown planning code there was certain things where the planning director, community development director had discretion to make certain decisions, as long as it was consistent with the intent of the code. Sometimes we see that in codes. I don't know if that's in the downtown planning code, because I mean, kind of when we thought it was just one issue, and then we go, oh, it's 4 issues, and it's really like a matter of feet here and there. It's really nothing. We're not going, hey, we want the moon. It's just, I need a foot here, I need a foot there. So maybe some discretion to the planning director, community development director. That would be an idea.
While I'm at it, let me ask you a question. You're building these row house. They're very packed, and I know our minimum square footage for open space is not that much. Is there any way that we can, I'm not saying, you do follow the code that we have, but 100 square foot is a 10 by 10. Well, right. About. Yeah. So is there any way that you can build it in a way that use the rooftop for open space? I don't know. But.
Yeah, well, I think actually, Chair Hang, we talked about this on the Cameron 56, and there are certain situations where that does make sense. Right now, I mean, if you'll see, it's going to be like very core LA, in the middle of LA, or very coastal. But this market hasn't asked for the rooftop decks yet from a buyer. Because all of a sudden, the rooftop deck is like building a fourth story. From a structural and everything, from a cost. So the costs are going to go up at a minimum 15% for each townhome. So we're building this in Costa Mesa with a rooftop deck. It's like 30% higher from a cost standpoint than the Camera 56, which I think Camera 56 came out beautiful. So that's the biggest thing. And I think a lot of builders would have trouble going with a rooftop deck.
Gotcha. So the increase of cost is about 30%, you're
It
saying?
would increase the cost of the house, yeah, or the purchase price of the house. They're already expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
How much are they going for, the 30 home that you're selling?
Camera 56, they're selling in the, I think it's the mid to high 500s. No, they're in the 600s actually. I can get back to you and I can email you the exact latest pricing.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're not cheap, but they're also not they also didn't get way up there. They're not attainable. They're still FHA, which is key. That's key that they're FHA.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
See, I'm just thinking that it's so tight in that whole row type of home. It would be nice to have more open space, but you're saying that the cost is very limiting.
With the form-based code in the downtown plan, I think the idea where, 100 square foot of private open space, like in Pomona, we're doing a similar project, and they're minimum 60 square feet of open space.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that a rooftop, if you can make use of it and provide, because land is just so expensive nowadays, especially in the infill area, and if we can provide more, but I didn't know that regarding the fact that it's 30% increase.
Yeah, it's
That is
considerable,
very
yeah.
cost limiting. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we are having commission discussions, or anyone has more questions?
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt a resolution initiating a code amendment in the West Covina Downtown Planning Code.
That we can add it, the footage, the heights, or do we need to have another meeting for that?
If the maker of the motion and the seconder would like to add that as an additional code amendment, that can certainly be done.
I like to I don't know what the heights would normally would be, so with the roof and all, because you had 3 floor plus roof. Can I have you come back again? I don't know if this is gonna.
Our typical height is 37.6 at the ridge. My only concern with if we added the height too, when this does go out to public noticing, that would be one thing that maybe neighbors will, wait a second, you're increasing the height. I do know in the past there was concerns with height adjacent to single family. I know it's only 2.5 feet is the difference between, but I know that the last code amendment actually stepped us back from single family, which I think was a really smart move that needed to happen. So that would be my only comment, but it's 37 feet 6 inches is what our typical 3-story town height is.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess we can, we'll have commission discussions. I guess one of the things is if we make these adjustments and when the plan comes to us, if there's because right now I don't exactly know where the residents live and what have you, will it affect those areas as well? If residents live around that area, and will this take over this particular changes that you're requesting for? Or will you be stepping in if there's residents sitting?
As Joanne pointed out earlier, these changes would be made to the entire downtown specific planning area. So if the commission did move forward with that as a area to look at, it would apply district-wide.
In the downtown plan area.
Correct, yes.
It's not citywide, it's a downtown.
But what about downtown plan that line with residential area? Residential home, how do we handle that portion?
The standards,
in the code.
The standards do apply district-wide. In, I don't know, Joanne, the details of the code, if there are different standards within.
So it would apply to properties it would also apply to properties adjacent to residential. For instance, this particular property has residential behind it.
So if we want a step in portion, we need to also add that as well, instead of having 30-something feet straight up wall next to a residential one-story building.
I believe there is already something like that in the code.
So, okay, so if they're next to residential area, they kind of have to step in for the first. I'm sorry, go ahead, come on in since you're.
And I mean, I think Commissioner Redholz might remember, but when the last amendment came through, so Cameron 56, we actually could not build Cameron 56 with the downtown plan code today. Even though we did do a step down to 2-story, we're only like 4 feet away from that existing single family. However, you need to be 25 feet away. That was a new thing. 25 feet away, then you can go 35 feet up. It used to be you could be right up against the single family, which we saw that issue with when we did Cameron 56. That's why we stepped down, even though we are still 5 feet away. So there was a lot of thought put into that with the.
Will the same thought be put into this new project as well?
Yeah, this new project, we're actually a full 25 feet away from any single family, where before we were only 5 feet away.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the new code kicked us,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
which makes
Okay.
sense. The last amendment.
Okay, in that case, yes. All right, thank you.
Chair Heng and Commissioners, if I may make a suggestion, this matter is before the Commission because an applicant is seeking these particular amendments. So if if you approve this resolution of intention, they'll move forward with an application and associated fees. If you're considering potentially other amendments, that might be more appropriate for a separate discussion.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second.
Thank you.
So.
We have a motion. We have a second. Oh, you made a second. Okay, so can we? Yes, a second. Go ahead.
I'm not for changing any codes, but on these, this is pretty simple, and I think it'll benefit contractors in the future to give them more flexibility. I know we're going to do some, eventually, hopefully, we'll get some project at the mall, and this will give them extreme flexibility. So, I'm for
Okay,
this.
so we'll call for a motion. We have a second, and can you roll call, please?
Yes,
Mark?
so to confirm, we have a motion by Commissioner Redholz and second by Commissioner Holtz to move forward with the Code Amendment 20-08. And Commissioner Holtz, Commissioner Kennedy, Commissioner Redholz,
Aye.
and Chair Hing.
Aye.
So staff will be moving forward with the code amendment, and the Planning Commission will see this code amendment at the same time that the project is moving forward.
Thank you. And good luck. Can you leave your, fill out the forms or leave a contact number? Thank you. Thank you and good luck with your project. Commission report, comments, and miscellaneous items. Would any of the commissioner likes to make a comment or report?
You know what? Just really quick. I'm seeing a lot of articles in the paper about some interesting new concepts. There's one called Rodeo 39, which I saw in the paper. It's actually, they're putting this 42,000 square foot space in the tiny city of Stanton, where it's a clever use. It's food, it's shops, it's entertainment. There's even a world-renowned, I know we have a world-renowned tattoo guy in West Covina, Glendora, but there's another one who is just, he's in Paris, he's in Las Vegas, he's in London, and he's bringing a studio, his first one, to the U.S. in Stanton at this Rodeo, it's called Rodeo 39. And, you know, I even talked to the city manager about it the other day, about, you know, he knows the developer that's doing this. Dave knows this guy. So, you know, I think there's a lot of interesting concepts out there that I'd like to see us pursuing, at least talking to these developers. We have, you know, there's spaces that God knows what's happening with the mall. We don't know what's going to happen over there. So there's interesting, new, fresh ideas that are being offered. This is kind of, the way it was explained, it's a food hall concept, but it's taking it to the next level. And I think West Covina needs to continue to be a creative force, because retail, it's all changing. I mean, I think it was changing anyway prior to COVID, but this has really forced people to take another look at how to use space. And if you get a chance, if you Google Rodeo 39, you'll see what they're talking. The guy's name is Dan Almquist. He's the developer, and it's a heck of a concept. And you know, I just think that you know, there's ways to continue to grow and develop and bring in revenue to the city without going to the taxpayers. So
I think I like that idea. It's wonderful. And I also like to say and add that recently we have quite a few big projects in our city. Once it's done, or when they're finished portion of the building, I think all the commissioners or staff, we should visit the one that's also being built in our city as well. And the Rodeo, thank you for recommending the Rodeo 39. We should also take some time, if we can, go and visit these sites. And in particular, I don't know if we can schedule for planning commissioners to visit what's being built in West Covina, because some of these projects are beautiful. We approved homes that are from 12,000 square foot, over 10,000 square foot, to row home that the gentleman Aaron was here, that they had to build, 50 home at a time. But at the same time, after they finished building, I don't think we actually visited what was approved. That is up to date. That's what they're doing, what's today. So I was wondering, perhaps maybe we have a list of what's completed or almost done that we can go and visit, just like the one that we just finished visiting, the Merrill's Garden. Yeah. It's beautiful how they built, each of their homes. The lobby area, the height is nice and high and it's bright. They also, even though they don't have a lot of land on the ground level, but on the top of it, that whole roof was used for you can say a yard, a deck. What do you call those things? It's beautiful. You get the view, you get the sun, you get the landscaping. It's all very private and it's all up there. So I think, I don't know, a lot of us were there that opening, but I think we should visit more, have an agenda, say, okay, this project we approved it a few months or years ago, and then we should, now that they're done, we should go and visit them while they're still selling.
Just for the record, they're Cameron 56, they did have a grand opening, and they did, I went, and they did take us on a tour of the various floor plans. So it does happen. Plus, you have to have the cooperation of
yes,
the developer.
Yes, because a lot of time they also have open house as well. So we can actually, go take a look during the time that when they just completed, finished, and before it's being sold. So that would be, I think it's very an added value to our commissioners since we're approving all these plans and see what the end product is, like, and what are they building today's time, not what was fixed, repaired, remodeled.
And if I could just add one thing, it doesn't, as I've done this, it doesn't have to be an organized commission event. I mean, I've called these developers and I've made an appointment and to see where they're at. You can do that as an individual commissioner. You don't need a formal deal to do that. You can just do it.
Yes, it would be really nice. Okay, so we're moving on. Does anyone have any more comments or?
Would it be possible, there's a lot of times we have blank on meeting nights, that we get together as a group and go out and look at them?
I'm all for it, if that's.
Then you have a thing called a Brown Act. I don't know.
Can we do that? Just go as a group to visit what we approved in the past? We're not making any decisions per se. City Attorney?
I think there are ways to accomplish your objective, and we can work together with staff. And there might be, other ways to update you as well, to alert you when certain projects are close to completion or just completed. That's certainly something staff can look into, and we can review the Brown Act aspects of any group visits.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, Community Development Director's Report. Mark will present. Is there anything?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Chair and Commissioners. The October 27th regular meeting of the Planning Commission will be canceled. There are no currently scheduled items. For November 10th, we currently have 3 public hearing items scheduled. 2 new homes are being, 2 new additions are being proposed, as well as we finally received comments back from the State Department of Housing and Community Development on the city's accessory dwelling unit ordinance, and we are making changes pursuant to the direction from the state, and will be formally holding a public hearing. We anticipate that'll be on November 10th. And then the commission will also be meeting twice in November, as I previously mentioned, on November 24th, which is, again, Thanksgiving week, but we will have a quorum for that meeting. That concludes my report on upcoming commission items. I would like to let the Planning Commission know that next Tuesday night, the City Council will be holding a hearing on the recommendation from the Planning Commission regarding the sale of beer and wine at gas station convenience stores. So the council will have that public hearing next Tuesday night. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions. The October 27th meeting is canceled, and in November there will be 2 meetings, November 10th and November 24th.
24th is not canceled.
It is not canceled, correct. There'll be 2 meetings. November 10th. Yeah. And then just as a note, the city attorney or assistant city attorney did look up. We were correct that the precise plan approval did pass on a 2-to-1 vote.
Okay. Since there's no further business to consider, this meeting is adjourned at 9:05? It said 9 o'clock on this clock, but at 9:05. Thank you.